Chair, we're all set.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, I'd like to get this meeting started. This is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. This public meeting has been called to satisfy requirements of the Planning Act and Council bylaws. Notice of this meeting has been given by prepaid first-class mail to all persons listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 60 meters of the subject properties. In addition, a public notice sign has been posted on the lands. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed, should an application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Any person concerned with the application will then be given an opportunity to speak. Please state your name and mailing address for the record. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions will be determined by the committee following the public portion of this hearing. All interested parties are invited to be present. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant or agent and to any other person who files a written request. There are colored forms for this purpose, which are available on the back table. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the local appeal body within 20 days of the decision for minor variances and within 20 days of the mailing of the decision for consent applications. I would like to introduce our hearing panel. My far left is Don Cook. On my left is James Federico. On my right is our staff to help us through this. Nancy Bizzato, our town clerk immediately, and Holly Wilford, our new deputy clerk. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing? And if
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
I have none.
I have none, and I'm Wayne Lockey, the chair. I guess you can read probably. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
None that I'm aware of, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay. The first one we're going to hear is for minor variance, A10-218P Park Hill Properties Corporation. If there's anybody here representing them, if they'd like to take a seat up here and introduce yourself and your address, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Raz Lamisani. I'm planner at Park Hill Properties.
Thank you very much.
I'm Carmela Marese, and I am project coordinator at Park Hill Properties.
Okay.
I'm Konstantinos Natentis. I'm also project coordinator at Park Hill Properties.
Okay, thank you very much. This clerk, would you?
Absolutely. Okay, go ahead. Thank you. This application for minor variance, file A10-2018P on behalf of Park Hill Properties. The subject lands front on the south side of Meridian Way, lying west of Wellspring Way, and they are known municipally as 80 Meridian Way, being zoned East Fonthill Mixed Use 3 in accordance with Town of Pelham zoning bylaw 1136, 1987 as amended. The variance application requests relief from section 6.16I, parking area setback, seeking a 1.4 meter setback to both the westerly and easterly side lot lines, whereas 3 meters is required for apartment dwellings. To date, comments have been received from the Public Works Department offering no objection or comment. The Building Department the same. Fire and Bylaw Services has no comments or objection, and from the public we have not received any comments from the public to date. As the committee is aware, an application for minor variance is based on 4 tests under the Planning Act. The first test is the variance minor in nature. Our planning department reports that the variance requested is minor overall, adequate landscape buffer is maintained, and a landscape strip supports various linden trees as demonstrated in the landscape plans submitted with the site plan. The second test is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land. The planning department reports that the proposed parking area is designed to serve the needs of a 96-unit residential apartment building. The variance is desirable as the current site plan makes more efficient use of the overall site without compromising the ability to provide a mix of residential and commercial units. Adequate landscape open space remains throughout the site. The third test, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Planning Department reports the reduced parking area setback will not unduly disturb any neighboring property owners. Reasonable landscape buffers surround the parking lot to the east and the town-owned watercourse to the west. The reduction will not offend the purpose and intent of the official plan. And the final test, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? The Planning Department reports the proposed parking area setbacks are less than required, but still maintain a satisfactory landscape buffer through the planting of various Redmond linden trees on the east and west lot lines. The variance maintains the objectives of the zoning bylaw. And finally, planning staff is of the opinion that the reduced both east and west side lot line parking area setback requirements will not negatively affect the neighborhood as adequate landscape buffering is maintained. It is noted that a concurrent site plan application is being processed by the town and will require council approval. Mr. Chair, that's all the correspondence on this application.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Do any of the representatives have anything to add?
Mr. Chair, through you, the representative has asked that we display a presentation that they have available, so we'll do that now as well.
Okay, thank you.
Present from here or present from here or
Actually, maybe to the mic, it would be easier.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one request here, I have too many animations in that PowerPoint, so I have another version there. Can you use this PDF file instead of?
This is the PDF. We want the PDF version.
This is a PDF.
Certainly, yes. Just give us a
Yeah.
moment.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Good evening, hearing committee, distinguished person present on the floor. I'm going to present on behalf of our Parkhill Properties for the minor variance application which we filed in the town of Pelham for our proposed development of 10-story affordable building in Pelham. So today I will going to talk about those points. So to give you a general idea about the context of the plan, you can see in the picture our subject property. On the east side of the property there is a Wellspring Cancer Hospital site. On the north side is the commercial plaza. On the west side there is a walking trail and a natural water trail. And on the south side of the subject land is storm water management pond. And on the right side of the picture you can see there are so many amenities around our site, so we think our proposed development is best suited for the site. And we are going to propose mixed-use development in that site. We will provide residential apartments on top 9 floors, and our ground floor will be retail, commercial, and other amenities that will support the apartment building. Our total gross floor area will be 102,000 square feet roughly, and it will be 10-story, which will contain 61 bedroom units and 36 two-bedroom units. This is a rendering of our building. This is how it will look like. This is site plan. This is our current site plan which we have submitted to the town, and you can see that we have provided our building just along the Meridian Way. And most importantly, you can see at the west side of the building, just adjacent to the building, there is a landscape area where we have provided ample sitting spaces. And on the west side, along the stormwater management pond, we have provided another well-designed landscape with gazebo for sitting and socializing, and that will both the sitting areas will be open to the general public. So it will create to help maintain a public realm in the area. And these are some of the elevations of our buildings. And to talk about our project timeline, we started envisioning our project back in July 2017. We filed our planning applications in March 2018. And now we are in the minor variance process, and we are hopeful of getting our planning permit by July 2018. And if things go right, we will get our building permit within 3-4 months, and then our targeted time for project completion is summer 2020. So we are very much committed to reach that timeline. And I will show you some of the drawings which we tried to for site planning, in which we try to fit that landscape area and parking in our site. And based on a kind of triangular shape, which you can say, it was very difficult for us to provide all the required parking spaces in our site and maintain that landscape area, which was a kind of primary focus when we did our preliminary presentations to the planning department, as well as when we did our presentation to the seniors committee. They also liked that space. So that's why we did not want to compromise that space. So we tried different options. To show you some of them, we tried different arrangement for the parking. Next. You can see next. And in each drawing, you can see we tried to keep that gazebo area for the socializing space. So the major hindrance for us that challenged us to keep that gazebo area was the requirements set us by the Niagara Regional Waste Collection Department. They want certain standard for the circulation of their waste trucks. So when we tried that, we lost some of the parking spaces. So we got sort of the parking requirements. Then we had to enclose that landscape area. We didn't have any other options. But later on, we realized that okay, if we compromise a little bit setbacks on the east and west side, then we can arrange our parking space as well as provide the landscape and sitting areas on the south side of the building. South side of the property. This is another option. You can see we tried all options which we could do. So at last we ended up with that options. And here also you can see that landscape area is not well designed. It is kind of enclosed by the parking space. That's why we are compelled to go for the minor variance applications. And I will not talk about the policy review. It is almost same as Nancy just spoke about. So our assessment is also exactly same. So what we want to say is that all the prevailing policies and bylaws are compatible with our proposed development. So so this is what we are seeking for from the east and west side only for the parking space. The required distance is 3 meters from the property line, but we have provided only 1.5 meter on the both sides. So we want to get a relief from that section 6.16I requirement, from relieving us from 3 meters requirement to 1.5 meter. And again, this is exactly same like Nancy just spoke about. So we think that it's a minor in nature considering the use in the adjacent lots, because on the east side development they also provided parking area along our sight line, and on the west side there's a walking trail. So to maintain a kind of privacy, we have provided adequate deciduous trees, that is red Mount linden. So that will help us preserve privacy between the adjacent lots. And it is desirable in the sense that the property will facilitate well planned. The variance will facilitate well planned and designed parking area as well as socializing opportunity for the entire community. And the variance will maintain the general intent of the official plan, because the use is permitted in the East Pontville, and the variance will have no impacts to the use of neighboring properties. And about the zoning bylaws, it will maintain the general intent of zoning bylaws, because the proposed development will maintain the overall character of the area. So, so this is our landscape plan. You can see we have provided a very beautiful landscape area on the south side and on the west side of the building. Next, please. And yeah, these are the trees we have provided redmond linden, and this is a plan of gazebo. So in conclusion, we think that the proposed development will help to meet with the overgrowing demand for affordable housing need in the town, especially for the seniors, and it is in very desirable location. The proposed development will offer an elegantly designed building and high quality landscape socializing spaces, which is open to public. That is very important. The proposed development takes advantage of the existing walking trail system by connecting it with the beautifully landscape designed area and the sitting areas in our property. And we are committed to the development of the proposed building as soon as possible, and our targeted timeline is to finish it or construct it by summer 2020. So the minor variance will facilitate us in meeting that timeline. And last but not the least, the proposed development is conveniently located, adjacent to so many amenities in a walking distance that will warrant active and healthy residential community and offers a mutual benefit to both its residents and community at large. So that concludes my presentation. So if you have any questions or comment, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to add anything? Or
Okay, thank you.
does anybody in the audience have any comments or objections or for or against? Okay, does the committee have any comments or questions?
No, Mr. Chairman?
No, Mr. Chair.
And I have none. Oh,
With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I would move that file A10-218, Park Hill Properties, application for relief of section 6.1I to permit parking area setback 1.5 meters from the easterly side lot line, whereas 3 be granted. And secondly, that application for relief of 6.16I, I guess it's I, to permit parking area setback distance 1.5 meters from the westerly lot line, where 3 meters is required, also be granted. And the reasons for this decision are that the variances are minor. Secondly, the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. It appears to be desirable in relation to the site plan you're proposing and with the current development going on in East Font Hill. Fifthly, that this application is granted without prejudice to any other application that you may be wishing to submit at some time later. No objections received from any of the commenting agencies, and we have received no comments from any of the budding property owners. And the committee has considered written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis, and the application meets the Planning Act tests for minor variance. With that, Mr. Chairman.
thank you very much. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All in favor? You're both granted. Thank you very much for coming in. And you'll have 20 days for somebody to appeal, but nobody's objected, so I would doubt very much if somebody's going to appeal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next application is consent. James Ivan and Carol Ann Ivan, file B2 2018P. Is there anybody here to represent them? If you'd like to come up, give your name and address. And
My name's Dustin LaChance, 230 Chandler Road.
yeah,
And my name is Ed Ivan. I'm 250 Chandler Road.
thank you very much. Ms. Secretary Treasurer, would you like to read the comments?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. Application for consent on behalf of Edward and Carol Ivan, File B2, 2018P. The subject land is located on the south side of Chandler Road, lying east of Effingham Street and known municipally as 250 Chandler Road. The application is made to sever 2,700 square meters of land to merge with the neighboring property to the east for additional side yard amenity area. So far, comments have, the application was circulated to various agencies. No comments have been received from Public Works, Building Department, and Bell Canada. The region of Niagara offers no objections, and no comments were received from the public. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority supports the boundary adjustment as the water course or provincially significant wetland will not be fragmented, so they have no objection to the application. The proposed boundary adjustment, if approved, would convey Part 2 to merge with Part 3, as shown on the drawings here, with 230 Chandler Road. From the Planning Department report, it is expected that the dwelling on Part 3 will be demolished and a new dwelling constructed. Planning staff is of the opinion that the proposal is appropriate, which will serve to increase the side yard amenity space for 230 Chandler Road and ensure adequate reserve land is available for replacement of a septic system in the future. Planning staff indicates that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to provincial, regional, and local plans, thus recommends that the application be granted. The conditions are as suggested here. Firstly, that Part 2 is to merge with Part 3, and that the Secretary Treasurer be provided with a registrable legal description of the subject parcel and a copy of the deposited reference plan, as well as the certification fee of $380. Mr. Chair, that is all the correspondence with regard to this application.
Thank you, Nancy. Do you have any further comments or questions or?
My name is Ed Ivan. My wife and I own the property that's going to be transferred. I bought the property roughly 14, 15 years ago, and it was more than we wanted, but the price was right, the location was nice. And I've always thought that we have too much land and the neighbor has a small frontage, and I always had that in mind, the neighbor to buy the property. When Dustin LaChance and his wife and family moved in, we thought they were excellent neighbors, and I have a feeling they will maintain the property as now it's my little private park. I cut the grass to keep the weeds and mosquitoes and mites and whatever down. And I'm very pleased to have this happen.
Thank you very much. Are there anybody in the audience who would like to question it or object?
We didn't object to yours.
Thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions or comments?
I don't, Mr. Chair.
No, Mr. Chairman, I think this is a good use. This is a reasonable.
It's a good boundary adjustment.
It's a good boundary adjustment, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, everybody benefits, I think. And I'd be ready for a motion.
Sure, Mr. Chair, through you, I move that the application to convey 0.27 hectares of land, shown as Part 2 on the drawing, be added to the abutting property to the east for side yard amenity space, be granted. Subject to the following conditions: that a solicitor is to supply undertaking to ensure that Part 2 merges with Part 3 as proposed, that the Secretary Treasurer be provided with a registrable legal description of the subject parcel together with a copy of the deposited reference plan through a lawyer and a surveyor, and that a payment of the final certification fee of $380 be made to the town of Pelham. The decision be based on the following reasons: the application conforms to the policies of the Town of Pelham official plan, regional policy plan, and the provincial policy statement, and complies with the town zoning bylaw. No objections to this proposal were received from commenting agencies or neighboring property owners. The decision is rendered having regard to the provisions of sections 5124 and 5125 of the Planning Act as amended. And the Committee of Adjustment considered all written and oral submissions and finds that, subject to the conditions of provisional consent, this application meets the Planning Act criteria, is consistent with the provincial policy statement, and complies with the growth plan, the Niagara Regional Official Plan, and the Town Official Plan.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All in favor? Decision is granted. You have 20 days from the mailing of this decision to before you can actually do your paperwork. Thank you very much.
How much concrete did you pour today?
Meters today. And what, 64 on Thursday?
Okay, we have some minutes for approval.
Thank you, guys. You're all
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I would move adoption of the minutes of the meeting of June the 5th as prepared.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that?
I'll second.
All in favor? Passed. And
I'll move to adjourn.
move to adjourn. Thank you. Seconder? All approved? Done. Adjourned. Any questions or comments or?
He probably just wants his flash drive back.
Okay. Oh, that sounds good.
Isn't that part of the application process? We retain any and all flash drives?
Yeah.